Discover the incredible journey of a billionaire transformed by unexpected love. A sister's healing grace. Jake Thompson stepped off the bus, the fading echoes of the engine contrasting sharply with the familiar sounds of his childhood, the chirping of birds, laughter from children playing, and the sizzle of grease from the local diner. The quaint Midwest town buzzed with life, but it felt distant, like a photograph with a smudge that blurred his past. The smell of fresh apple pie wafted through the air, drawing him back to happier days when life was simpler and dreams were built on hard work, not dollar signs. As he walked down the main street, memories crashed over him like waves. He could see himself as a boy, running through the fields with Lily, his sister, laughter spilling from their lips as they chased fireflies beneath the evening sky. But a wound had festered over the years. His success in the tech world led to a rift, leaving him estranged from the one person who meant the most. Now, back in his hometown after a tragic loss, Jake felt nothing but an empty chasm in his heart, echoing his regrets, but this return was more than just nostalgia, it was an urgent trip back home to heal. Clenching his fists, he prepared for the inevitable reunion with Lily, whose fierce dedication to the community astounded him. He learned that the local hospital, her lifeline, was struggling to survive amid mounting financial pressures. The reality rattled Jake. His fortunes could change everything, yet the very wealth that propelled him away now threatened to tether him back. As Jake sought Lily, their initial conversation ignited old arguments, rays of frustration piercing through family bonds. He sensed how deeply she bore the weight of caring for the town's health, and he felt guilt gnawing at him. The cash in his pockets could save lives. But when he heaped his offers onto her, she recoiled. "I don't need your money, Jake," she shouted, her voice cracking. "You think money solves everything? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Jake watched her storm off, his heart heavy with disappointment. It wasn't just their differing perspectives on success causing the divide, it was the ache of shared loss. In her, he saw the embodiment of love and commitment, a spirit that shimmered with resilience. Hours turned into days as he witnessed her tireless efforts to rally support for various health initiatives. Each moment spent observing her dedication brought clarity, redefining his understanding of success, not just a balance sheet but a way of giving back, the bond with a community. Then, news hit him like a freight train: a proposed merger that could change everything for Lily's hospital. A fork in the road loomed ahead, and Jake faced a gut-wrenching choice. Would he allow ambition to lead him astray while risking the respect of the town and the fragile relationship with his sister? Yet still, the fear of being cast aside loomed just as large. He stood there, suspended between past grievances and future possibilities, wrestling with doubt. Could love mend their fractured connection? Or would he forever be that billionaire lost in oceans of regret, left to wonder if he could ever return to the roots that had once defined him? A few days passed, and the weight of unspoken words lingered in the air between Jake and Lily. Every time they crossed paths, he sensed her guardedness. She had dedicated herself to the hospital fundraisers, tirelessly working to keep the doors open, and unbeknownst to her, Jake had been studying those same numbers. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind the horizon, casting a golden hue over the town, Jake felt an urge to reach out again. He found Lily in what used to be their backyard, sitting on a weathered swing. The old oak tree still stood tall, its branches reaching out like loving arms. Memories flooded back: summer evenings spent giggling as fireflies danced around them. "Hey, can we talk?" Jake's voice was hesitant, the words hanging in the air. Lily shifted slightly, not looking at him. "What's there to say? You want to throw money at the problem, and I want to find a solution that actually works. I'm not here just to throw money around. I want to help, I want to be a part of this." "I didn't realize how wrong I was about everything," he said, taking a step closer. She finally met his gaze, something flickering in her eyes that looked like hope and hurt intertwined. You think you can just stroll back into my life and fix everything? That's not how it works, Jake. No, I get that now. But I need you to understand, it's not just about the money to me anymore. Jake paused, the weight of his past choices constricting his throat. I've seen so much out there, but none of it mattered when I lost Mom. Coming back here, it just makes me realize how far I've drifted. And you, he said, voice softening, you're the one who has been here, fighting for this place. Lily glanced at the ground, the energy between them crackling with unresolved emotions. You missed a lot, Jake. All those years, I had to be strong for both of us. But I want to be strong for you now, he replied, desperation threading through his voice. What if we work together? I can use my resources to help your hospital, maybe even improve it. But I want to just write a check. I want to be involved. I want to be there, side by side with you. For a moment, silence enveloped them. If Lily's expression softened, it was fleeting. The kindness in Jake's words collided with the hurt she felt. You don't get it, do you? This is about more than just saving a building. It's about people, about trust. He stepped back, giving her space, hands stuffed deep in his pockets. Then tell me how to earn that trust back. As the stars began to twinkle above them, Lily looked at him, truly seeing him for the first time since his return. It'll take time, Jake. Time and proof that you care. Then that's what I'll do. I'll prove it. There was a resolve in his voice, a spark of something new igniting between them. Just as they began to navigate the fragile path toward understanding, a loud commotion erupted from the other side of town. Ambulance sirens wailed, rushing past the street. Jake's pulse quickened, instinctive worry flaring within him. What's happening? Lily's face transformed. It could be the hospital. They need help. Without thinking, she took off toward the sound, and Jake followed close behind, heart racing with fears he couldn't yet articulate. As they ran through the twilight, Jake could feel everything balancing on a knife's edge. Would this be the moment they truly united against a common fight? Or was it just another wave of their challenges crashing down? The night was heavy with uncertainty, but in that rush, Jake felt something begin to shift between them and within himself. As they reached the hospital doors, a primal urgency pressed against him, leaving him breathless and uncertain. Where would this night lead them both? Would they finally overcome the past, or would it tear them apart once more? The hospital lobby buzzed with frantic energy as they stepped inside. The faint smell of antiseptic filled the air, mixing with something sharper fear. Medical staff rushed by, voices raised but determined, each one focused on their task. Jake glanced at Lily, her face torn between worry and resolve. Stay close, she urged, her eyes scanning the chaos. They dodged a group of nurses pushing a stretcher, the urgency palpable in the air. Who was it? Jake asked, breathing heavily, trying to keep pace with her long strides. A car accident, Lily replied, a fire igniting in her tone. They were on their way to the fundraiser. I just know it. Her words struck a chord in Jake. He had seen accidents like that before, could still hear the sirens in his dreams. We have to help. Lily nodded, determination etching her features. You can start by heading to the donation desk. We need supplies. Get all the bandages, pain relievers, anything that can alleviate their suffering. Jake barely hesitated before sprinting toward the desk. He barely registered the faces of the staff around him. Drops of sweat ran down his back as he rifled through cupboards, grabbing what he could carry. In moments, he was back at her side, their eyes meeting in a brief moment of shared purpose. Let us go. With each step deeper into the chaos, he felt more and more connected to her, ignited by a resolve he hadn't realized lived within him. They reached the treatment area, and the scene was grim. Patients lay on beds, some conscious, others not, while doctors and nurses worked tirelessly. The rhythmic beeping of machines created an unsettling backdrop, punctuating every gasp of pain and murmur of support. "Lily, over here," a nurse shouted. A small crowd had gathered around a woman lying still, blood seeping into the sheets. Lily deftly maneuvered through the chaos, her focus unwavering. Jake followed, but his heart pounded for another reason. What if it was someone they knew? As they approached, recognition crashed over Jake like a wave. It was Sarah, a friend from back in the day, her face pale and twisted in pain. He felt the world spin around him, disbelief gripping him as he clenched his fists. He had shared countless laughs and dreams with her, watched her celebrate birthdays and milestones. How could this happen? Sarah! Jake gasped, stepping closer, dread tightening his chest. As Lily took immediate command of the situation, Jake felt a rush of helplessness overpowering him. He had always thought he would be strong enough for moments like these, but here he was, lost. That he positioned himself beside her, memories flooding back a time before everything had gone wrong. Panic began to swell within him. "Jake," Lily's voice broke through his turmoil. He turned to see her kneeling down beside him, her hand warm on his shoulder. "Help me apply pressure here. We need to stop the bleeding." In that moment, he realized this was not just about Sarah. It was about him and Lily working together, pushing aside the murky waters of their past. He laid his hands down, feeling the warmth of human connection reblooming in the most unexpected way. As they worked, they slipped into a rhythm, their movements syncopated, a dance of urgency and hope. Could it be that in saving someone else, they were salvaging something for themselves too? Time slipped away, adrenaline coursing through their veins, and for a moment, the world outside faded. All that mattered was here and now. But as the doctor arrived to take charge and they were pushed aside, Jake felt a sudden chill. Lily's gaze fell on him, a quiet relief mingling with the pain in her eyes. "We did what we could." But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. He looked around the room, realizing how many lives were intertwined in this destiny of theirs, and he turned back to her. "What if this changes everything for us?" Before she could respond, a sharp scream echoed through the halls, splitting the air, an omen of what lay ahead. Would they rise strong from this, or would they succumb to the past shifting like shadows behind them? The night's events left a question hanging in the air: could they truly transform their story together, or would the tragedy tear them back into isolation? Jake leaned against the cold wall of the waiting area, breathless and trapped in a whirlwind of emotion. The chaos around him faded into the background. The world had narrowed down to the sound of those screams, each one a haunting reminder that danger was still lurking, ready to snatch away any semblance of normalcy. He didn't even realize how tightly he had been gripping Lily's hand until she pulled away to fetch a nurse. There was a void where her warmth had been, filled with a profound sense of uncertainty. This was more than just a car accident, it felt like a fracture in the fabric of their lives. As he glanced toward the treatment area, a bitter taste sat at the back of his throat. Sarah would be okay, right? She'd been through so much already. How could fate decide to throw such a curveball, especially tonight? The fundraiser had been meant to celebrate hope, not to tear lives apart. "Jake!" Lily's voice cut through his thoughts. She hurried back, determination etched on her face. "The doctors need more supplies, and I think we should offer to fetch them ourselves." Jake nodded, willing to follow her lead, even though his heart felt like a weight in his chest. They triaged supplies in their heads as they navigated through corridors. Lily was focused and sharp, her goals directing each swift movement, while Jake could barely keep up, lost in the shadows of his memories with Sarah. What if he started, but the words got caught in his throat like thorns? He couldn't say it. The fear of losing Sarah felt insurmountable. What if what? She turned, her eyes softening, waiting for him to find his voice. What if she doesn't make it? He finally breathed out, the vulnerability stripping him bare. "We can't just stand here waiting for news. I need to know if she's okay." Lily's expression shifted, it was clear she understood the stakes. "We have to believe she will be, Jake. We have to keep pushing forward. For her." For ourselves. Her unwavering faith sparked something within him, but he still felt the weight of uncertainty. They focused on gathering supplies, throwing away personal fleeting fears for the immediate task. With each box of gloves or roll of gauze slipped into their arms, a flicker of determination ignited inside Jake. As they rounded a corner, they glimpsed a group of family members sitting huddled together, faces etched in worry. The air was heavy with the weight of despair. "Lily," he began, but she was already moving ahead, offering comfort. They had to help those around them too. Jake took a breath, stepping forward to where the families were awaiting news, a knot forming in his stomach. "Does anyone know what is happening?" he ventured, voice steady, though his heart raced. A man looked up, tears spilling down his cheeks. "My sister, she was in that car." "I don't know, I'm scared." Jake's chest tightened. He could feel that fear flowing through the room, a shared human experience that cut deep. It was no longer just about Sarah, it was about hope for each person intertwined in this moment. Lily returned, a sympathetic expression painted across her face. "They're doing everything they can. We can do this together," she urged, a fire in her voice that thawed Jake's despair just a little. Together, they walked toward the cluster of worried families, Jake's heart racing in time with the beeping machines echoing from the treatment area. The connections felt electric, and he realized that in seeking to save others, maybe they were starting to save themselves too. Just then, a nurse walked in, hushed and anxious. "We need family members of the accident victims." Her words hung in the air, heavy with consequence. Jake felt his pulse quickening. Not knowing who she was calling for sent a wave of dread through him. As he and Lily inched closer, reality began to dawn. This was the pivotal moment. "Jake," Lily whispered as they stood, frozen in uncertainty. "Whatever happens next, just remember that we're in this together." His eyes locked onto hers, reassurance mingling with fear. Could they weather the storm, or would this tragedy fracture them all? The answer hovered just out of reach, but soon they would find out. Jake's heart thudded heavily in his chest as the nurse's gaze swept over the room, scanning faces, hoping to find relatives willing to brave the unknown. The air was thick with silence, charged with anxiety and anticipation. It felt like all the oxygen had been sucked out, leaving behind only the ticking clock on the wall, ticking mercilessly toward uncertainty. "I can't do this," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper, as he clenched his fists, feeling the coolness of the wall behind him like a grounding anchor. "We have to," Lily urged softly, her gaze fierce, cutting through his haze of dread. "If it's Sarah, we need to be there for her, for each other. Don't forget that." Just then, the nurse called out again, louder this time, "We need the family of Daniel Parker." A ripple of movement stirred among the gathered relatives. Jake's breath caught. Daniel was a mutual friend, someone they all cared about. He had been in the car with Sarah. Lily's hand squeezed tightly around his, a shared understanding passing between them. "Let us go," Jake whispered, his voice stronger now, ignited by a flicker of hope. Together, they navigated through the huddled families, hearts pounding and minds racing with what lay ahead. The nurse led them down a long, sterile corridor while their shoes echoed against the tile floor. With every step, Jake's heart tightened. After what felt like an eternity, they reached a small meeting room, sparsely furnished with plastic chairs and the gathering stigma of waiting too long. "Sit tight, the doctors will be with you soon," the nurse said, her face taut, before she stepped out, leaving them momentarily alone. Jake sat in one of the chairs, hands trembling. He stared at the wall, feeling trapped in a nightmare that refused to let him wake up. "What if they don't come back with good news?" he murmured, looking down at his hands. The fear was palpable, clawing at him. Lily crouched beside him, her expression painfully tender. "We have to focus on the possibility," she replied. "Hope is all we have right now. Sarah has made it through so much before." "Yes," but he paused, breathing deeply. "What if it's too much? What if this stop?" Lily interrupted, firm but gentle. "You can't spiral like that. It's not going to help Sarah or us." For a fleeting moment, Jake felt the tension ease, as her presence grounded him. They leaned into each other, sharing unspoken support, a lifeline amid a sea of despair. As moments passed, the door swung open, and a doctor stepped in, a clipboard in hand. His eyes were kind but serious, and immediately the atmosphere grew dense with apprehension. Jake's stomach churned. "Mr. and Mrs. Parker?" the doctor asked, his voice low and steady. "I need to speak with you about your loved one's." Time seemed to stretch and snap like a taut wire. Jake's breath hitched as he and Lily stood, their gazes locked, a world of uncertainty reflecting in their eyes. The doctor wasn't just a herald of information. He was the gatekeeper to fear or relief. As they stepped forward, anticipation consumed them, thick and suffocating. Jake felt the whole world fade into a muted echo around them. What if this changes everything? He thought, fear twisting into his gut. And just as he prepared for the worst, the doctor's next words hung in the air, a question poised to shatter or mend the fragile fabric of their lives. Would it be hope or devastation awaiting them on the other side of that door? The doctor's gaze softened before he spoke again. "I'm afraid both Daniel and Sarah are in critical condition. They suffered significant injuries in the accident." A cold wave crashed over Jake. He felt Lily's grip tighten around his hand, as if she were trying to anchor him against the surge of despair. "What does that mean?" Jake managed to ask, his voice thick with uncertainty. The doctor took a breath, glancing at his clipboard. "Right now, they're both in surgery. They have a fighting chance, but we can't guarantee everything will go smoothly." "Fighting chance," Jake repeated, tasting the words on his tongue. It sounded hollow. The weight of doom pressed heavily on his shoulders. What if they don't make it?" "We can't think like that," Lily interjected, shaking her head vehemently. "We need to believe in them." The doctor nodded, looking more concerned now. "I'll update you as soon as I have more information. I know it's hard, but you must wait." He turned to leave, and Jake felt as if the ground had been pulled from below him. "Wait!" he called out, desperation creeping into his tone. "Is there anything we can do? Just tell us what we can do." The doctor paused, his face etched with compassion. "Be here for each other. Support each other. That's important right now." The door clicked shut, leaving the two of them in the stifling dim light of the waiting room. The ticking clock resumed its relentless march, and the silence became even heavier. All at once, Jake felt a chill crawl under his skin. What if they never come back? Lily's fingers brushed against his cheek, pulling him away from the edge of his thoughts. "Look at me, Jake. They need us to stay strong for them. Remember, Sarah has faced so much already. She's a survivor." He met her eyes, searching for some spark of assurance, and found it in her unwavering resolve. "But what if it's not enough?" he whispered, suddenly feeling like a terrified child standing in front of a monster. "It has to be," she replied firmly, with a conviction that made him believe, even if just a little. "When Sarah wakes up, she's going to need us. We can't let her fight this alone." Hours slipped by. Jake sunk into deep thought, lost in memories of laughter, late-night talks, and secrets shared with Sarah. The image of her smiling, her vibrant spirit spurred him on. Finally, he stood, energized by the flicker of hope deep within him. "Let us go find her." His voice was steadier now, filled with determination. "Yes." Lily's smile ignited a spark in his chest. Together, they moved toward the door, hearts racing not just with fear, but also with a newfound courage. As they stepped into the hallway, a sudden commotion caught their attention. A nurse hurried past them, her expression urgent. "Is it?" Jake dared to ask, holding his breath, but before she could respond, another voice called out from down the hall, an anguished wail that echoed through the corridor. Jake froze, the sound wrapping around him like a suffocating darkness. What did that cry mean? For a moment, everything around him blurred. The urgency in the voice twisted into a knot in his stomach. "Jake," Lily's voice trembled slightly, pulling him back into reality. What is happening? He could feel his heart pounding, not just from fear, but from something resembling dread and understanding that they were about to face a monumental turning point. The next moments could shatter their worlds in ways they never saw coming. "Let us find out," he replied, clenching Lily's hand tighter as they moved forward, bracing themselves for whatever awaited them down that hallway. Would it bring relief, or only deepen their anguish? As they walked down the corridor, every step felt like a mile. The wail echoed in Jake's mind, a haunting melody that left a chill in its wake. He could see the nurses moving with a sense of urgency, their faces drawn tight with concentration. Each person they passed seemed to carry a weight heavier than the last, as if this place was a threshold where hope and despair collided. Lily's hand was warm in his, and he squeezed it, drawing strength from her presence. "What if it's about Sarah?" he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He didn't want to believe it, but the notion hung between them, heavy and unsettling. As they rounded a corner, a doctor emerged from a room, his scrub stained with the evidence of his work. Jake rushed forward, desperation pushing him. "Is it our Daniel and Sarah okay?" The doctor paused, his eyes searching Jake's face. There was a moment that felt endless, each second amplified by the rising tide of fear within Jake's chest. "They're still in surgery," the doctor replied, his tone so measured, so calm. "But we have encountered complications." Jake's heart fell. Complications? What does that mean for them? For a brief moment, Jake caught a glimpse inside the doctor's world, a world where hope was often overshadowed by reality. "They are fighting for their lives. I can't provide any further information right now, but I promise to keep you updated." With that, the doctor turned and disappeared back down the corridor, leaving Jake feeling even more adrift. The walls seemed to close in around him, and he felt the air grow thick. Lily, he felt her steady presence beside him, a lifeline in turbulent waters. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice trembling. Her eyes betrayed the worry she was trying to mask. It was a question without easy answers. "We wait," he said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his tone. "And we hope." They found a nearby bench and sat, the uncomfortable plastic pressing against their backs. The weight of the moment hung in the air, but for Jake, hope was something he could cling to. He recalled all the little moments shared with Sarah, the times they had cheered each other on during games, the late nights filled with laughter, the promise of lifelong friendship. She was a fighter. She had faced so much already. But what if this was different? A flicker of doubt crept in. He stared at his hands, the knuckles white from squeezing her hand too tightly. What if they don't? He couldn't finish the thought. "Stop," Lily said suddenly, her voice fierce. "We will not think like that. They need our strength." He glanced at her, astonished. "How do you hold on to that?" "Because I know them. I know how strong they are. I know how much they love us." Her voice cracked, but she pressed on. "We have to focus on the possibility." A nurse passed by, pausing momentarily to check their expressions. "I'll let you know as soon as there's an update," she said softly. "Thank you," Jake replied, the words feeling too inadequate, too small against the expanse of uncertainty surrounding them. Time stretched endlessly, broken only by the intercom announcements that echoed throughout the hospital. Each sound was a reminder of the world continuing to spin outside this bubble of fear and hope. Jake leaned back, squeezing his eyes shut for a moment. Then he felt Lily's breath hitched next to him. "Look," she whispered, pointing towards the far end of the hallway. Jake turned, heart racing again. A familiar figure emerged, wielding a clipboard. It was their close friend, Mark. His face was drawn and pale, clearly affected by the situation. As Mark approached, Jake felt a wave of apprehension wash over him. What news would he bring? "Listen, I just talked to the doctor," Mark began, but his voice faltered, and for a split second everything hung in suspension, waiting for the breathless truth to unfold. What were they about to find out? Mark took a deep breath, his eyes flickering between Jake and Lily. The weight of the moment settled heavily on his shoulders, and for a heartbeat, Jake could see the flicker of hope that had ignited at the corner of Mark's lips slowly dimming. "They're still in surgery," Mark said, the tremor in his voice betraying his own fear. "But the doctor is concerned about complications with Sarah." Jake felt the words sink in like a stone dropping into water, rippling through his mind. He had held a sliver of hope, clinging to the idea that they would be okay, that the wait would end with relief. But now, it felt like a cruel twist to hear it all again. The terror he'd been trying to suppress surged back, drowning him in uncertainty. "Complications?" Lily echoed, her voice barely above a whisper, each syllable hanging thick with dread. Mark nodded slowly, his features hardening as he spoke again. "They're fighting to stabilize her. The doctor said they need more time." More time. The phrase echoed in Jake's mind, a cruel reminder of the hours they'd already spent anxiously waiting. Each tick of the clock felt like a betrayal, dragging his sanity through a muddied landscape of fear and anguish. "She can't," he started but faltered. The reality felt too sharp, too real. "We need to be there for them," Lily said, her grip on Jake tightening again. "We need to be strong for both of them." Jake nodded, but inside, he felt the cold gnaw at his insides. What if being strong isn't enough? His voice broke slightly, and he hated the way it betrayed him. Mark stepped closer, eyes darting between the two of them. "Remember that day, the picnic at the lake? How Sarah dove off that rock to impress us?" The memory broke briefly through the tension, a shared smile floating momentarily to their lips. "She has that fighter spirit. She always has." His words hung there, like a prayer for both of them. But Jake felt the flicker of hope fading, replaced by a haunting thought that there was only so long someone could fight. Hours slipped away, blurred into an invisible line. They sat together in strained silence, the occasional strained conversations with passing nurses and doctors breaking the stillness but filling it only with more uncertainty. A cool breeze drifted through the open doors, mingled fragrances of antiseptic and fear. It swirled around them, reminding Jake of how small they were against the enormity of what awaited. "I can't just sit here," Jake suddenly blurted out. He stood up abruptly, as if action would momentarily shield him from the chaotic swirl of what-ifs in his mind. "I need to do something." "But what?" Lily challenged, her brow furrowing with concern. "I don't know, maybe we can gather everyone. Maybe if we all come together, it'll strengthen her. I mean, you never know what it can do, right?" Mark nodded, a new fire igniting behind his weary eyes. "Yeah. She'd love to see all of us together. That might even cheer her on." "Okay, let us do it," Lily agreed, her voice steadier now. "We can make signs. Anything that shows we're with her." As they started to plan, Jake felt the first flicker of resolve rise within him. Maybe hope was still alive, a small spark he could fan into flame. Just then, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Heart racing, he fumbled it out and stared at the screen. An unknown number. With a deep breath, he answered, unaware that this call held the promise of life-altering news. "Jake?" A voice came through, heavy with urgency. "It's about Sarah." What was he about to discover? "Jake?" The voice crackled through the phone, and for a moment, all other sounds faded into a blur. Anxiety gripped him tight, squeezing his chest. "It's about Sarah. What about her?" Jake's voice rose, urgency leaking through. His grip tightened around the phone as he glanced back at Mark and Lily, their expressions frozen in a mix of hope and terror. "Listen," the voice continued, and Jake recognized it as Dr. Matthews, Sarah's surgeon. "We've encountered some difficulties. We need to discuss the procedure's risks and your options." Jake's heart dropped. "Options? What do you mean?" "Sarah's bleeding was more extensive than we initially thought. We need to make a decision about the next steps. Please, can you come to the surgical floor? Right now?" Jake asked, already moving toward the elevator, his pulse pounding in his ears. He glanced back at Mark and Lily, nodding for them to follow. "We'll be there." "Jake, wait." Mark called out, concern etched on his face as he caught up. "What's happening?" "They need us." "I don't know what's wrong, but we're going to find out," Jake answered, a mixture of fear and determination coursing through him. He stepped into the elevator, Lily and Mark beside him, the heavy silence wrapping around them. As the elevator lurched toward the surgical floor, Jake's thoughts spiraled. He couldn't shake the image of Sarah, vibrant and full of life, suddenly shrouded in uncertainty. What had happened to their bright, unstoppable friend? The elevator doors slid open with a ping, and they stepped into a stark, sterile space that smelled of antiseptic and sterile equipment. Jake was struck by the clinical atmosphere contrasted to the emotional storm brewing within him. Dr. Matthews was waiting, his brow furrowed as if he was balancing something heavy. "I'm glad you came," he said. "We need to talk. This isn't easy." Jake managed a nod, refusing to let the weight of the moment crush him. They were here for Sarah, after all. Anything for her. "We were able to stabilize her," but the doctor hesitated, then continued, "There's a risk of infection and further complications. I need your input on how to proceed. What are our options?" Mark asked, his voice steady despite the chaos behind his eyes. "We can try a more aggressive surgical approach, which carries its own risks, or we can keep her under observation. There's a chance she will respond positively on her own, but time is crucial." Time. The word echoed in Jake's mind as a tightening feeling coiled around his heart. What does she need? The doctor looked straight at Jake, his expression serious. "She's done so much already, her body is fighting. But the truth is, the next few hours are critical. If you choose the aggressive route, it could save her life or it could lead to more suffering." Jake turned to Mark and Lily, searching their faces for an answer that felt more like it should come from them. "What do we do?" "Sarah would choose to fight," Lily whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "We have to give her that chance." Jake inhaled deeply, a surge of determination igniting inside him. "Then we fight for her. We can't hold back." Dr. Matthews nodded, steeling himself. "Okay, I'll prepare for surgery. We'll do everything we can." As the doctor left, Jake saw the weight of uncertainty descend again. He reached for Mark and Lily, their joined hands providing a lifeline amidst the storm. They returned to the waiting area, where the atmosphere felt thick with tension. Jake glanced around, spotting familiar faces of friends filtering in, drawn by the news. "Have you heard anything? Is she okay?" Came the murmurs from the gathering crowd. Jake squeezed Lily's hand, his heart racing. "We're fighting for her. Just keep the faith." But deep down, he knew they were on the edge of a precipice, one decision away from a series of life-altering outcomes. He felt the familiar tug of fear mixed with the flicker of hope. All they could do was hope that Sarah's spirit would shine through once more. Suddenly, another phone call buzzed in his pocket. Hesitant but resolute, he answered, holding his breath as he greeted the unknown caller, wondering if this was yet another twist in their already tumultuous journey. "Jake. This is Sarah's nurse." Jake felt a shiver of anticipation creep up his spine. "Is she okay?" He blurted out, urgency tainting his words. "She's in recovery now. We are monitoring her closely," the nurse said, her voice calm but firm. "You can come in and see her, but please, stay quiet." Relief washed over him, chasing away shadows of despair. He glanced at Lily and Mark, their expressions lighting up like beacons. "She's alive!" he exclaimed, tears of relief welling in his eyes. They rushed through the sterile hallways, navigating the maze toward the recovery room. Jake's heart raced. Each pulse echoed like a drumbeat in his ears, a rhythm of hope and trepidation. As they entered the room, the scene was both heart-stopping and heartwarming. Sarah lay there, the glow of monitors surrounding her like a halo. Her face, though pale and stitched, retained an essence of the vibrant spirit he remembered. Jake stepped closer, taking in every detail: the chipped nail polish on her fingers, the curve of her lips still holding on to the remnants of her usual smile. Lily leaned over, gently taking Sarah's hand. "We're right here. We've got you," she whispered, her voice laced with tenderness. A soft groan escaped Sarah's lips, and her eyelids fluttered open just a fraction, the slightest acknowledgement of their presence. "Hey, you," Jake said, choking on his emotions. Despite the beeping machines, amidst the antiseptic smell, he felt a comforting warmth surround him. "You did it. You fought. I'm so glad to see you," Sarah murmured, her voice barely a whisper, but it was a melody that danced through the chaos. Tears fell freely from Jake's eyes, but this time, they were tears of joy. "You scared us, girl." Mark chuckled, wiping away his own relief. "We've been holding the fort, but you've got to wake up and take charge." As Sarah nodded, a small but courageous smile broke across her face, something between determination and gratitude. In that moment, Jake felt a shift, a reconnection. Everything he had feared about loss began to unravel before his eyes, replaced by something luminous and powerful. "We're going to be okay," Jake said, now more certain than ever. They had faced the brink of despair but emerged stronger together. With every moment spent by Sarah's side, he understood better the tapestry of relationships, the love woven between them, nurtured through hardships, miscommunications, and reconciliations. They were a family forged stronger in the fires of their struggles. As if sensing this newfound strength, Sarah's eyes flickered with hope. "We'll make it through, won't we?" she whispered, looking up at her friends. "Always," Jake promised, squeezing her hand. "You have us, and we have you." Lily's eyes sparkled with unshed tears. "Together. Always together." Time passed, and under the embrace of hope and healing, they began to mend not just Sarah but all the fragile cracks within their shared experiences. With every laugh and shared story, they bridged the gulf of lost years and regrets. Jake knew that challenges would come. Life was not always easy, but he didn't need to face it alone. Together, they would confront tomorrow, with its uncertainties, as a united front. As he left the recovery room, he felt lighter, as if he had shed an old skin. Hope was not merely a word, it was a living force that surged through him, reminding him of the power of love and connection. "Let us go celebrate," Jake announced, turning to Lily and Mark. "Let us throw that fundraiser she planned, bigger than ever." Lily's face lit up. "You mean it? We can do that." "Yes," Jake declared, the idea sparking joy within him. "Let us honor Sarah and everything she has done. Let us bring this community together." As they stood there, plans forming and laughter bubbling to the surface, Jake felt the weight of the past lift. He knew life's unpredictable nature would always be there, lurking in corners, but so would the strength of love, the kind that binds and heals, the kind that transformed them all. With renewed purpose and strength, they stepped out into fresh air, the world vibrant with promise. It was more than the beginning of healing for Sarah, it was a fresh start for them all, an embodiment of everything they had fought and would continue to fight for each other. And as the sun dipped low, shining its golden rays, Jake knew they were ready to take on whatever was thrown their way. Together, now is the moment. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for this channel. Your interaction makes a huge difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. It's time to share your thoughts, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. True fans understand that supporting this channel is vital. Let us grow this community together.